I request our esteemed guests to kindly ascend the stage. A very good morning to everyone present here. We welcome you all to the 16th lecture of Kartavyam, a constitutional law lecture series organized by Campus Law Center, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, in collaboration with 21 national universities. For today's lecture, we are honored by the presence of Honorable Mr. Justice G.R. Swaminathan, Judge High Court of Madras, Honorable Mrs. Justice Mini Pushkarna, Judge High Court of Delhi, and Honorable Mr. Justice Girish Katpalia, Judge High Court of Delhi. We extend a heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guests and other dignitaries who have graced this occasion with their presence.
Before we proceed, let us invoke the divine with the lightning of ceremonial lamp, illuminating the path ahead with positivity, wisdom, and symbolizing dispelling of ignorance and darkness. May I now request our esteemed guests to come forward and grace the lightning of lamp. Following this, we shall honor our alma mater with the soulful rendition of Delhi University Kulgeet, a tribute to our shared legacy and pursuit of excellence. I request everyone to please stand up for University Kulgeet.
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम
श्रेष्ठ सुंदर दिव्य दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय विहंगम
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय ज्ञान का लोक अनुपम सकल वसुधा निज कुटुंब की भावना, संस्कृति सनातन, आधुनिक शिक्षा पुरातन, ज्ञान धाराओं का संगम।
देश की स्वाधीनता हित भूमि का शतकोटि वंदन।
निष्ठा धृति सत्यम के मंगल, दिव्य भावों का समागम।
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय, ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
भव्य महाविद्यालयों के परिसरों से चिर सुशोभित, श्रेष्ठ गुरुजन कर रहे नित्य छात्र और छात्राएं दीक्षित।
सदचरित्राचार पावन, साधना संकल्प संयम।
नवल वैश्विक चेतना, नव क्रांति संस्कारों का उद्गम। जयति जय जय जयति जय जय, ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
श्रेष्ठ सुंदर दिव्य दिल्ली, विश्वविद्यालय विहंगम।
जयति जय जय जयति जय जय, ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
ज्ञान का आलोक अनुपम।
I request everyone to please take their seats. Today marks the 16th lecture in this series, a continuing journey into the exploration of Kartavya jurisprudence. At its very core, Kartavya jurisprudence is the study of duty as the foundation of law, morality, and governance.
The judges who in their courtrooms uphold the highest ideals of justice are with us today in different roles to share their thoughts, insights, and wisdom, thereby enriching this discourse beyond adjudication and into the philosophy of duty and jurisprudence. I now request Professor Dr. Alka Chawla Ma'am to felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice G.R. Swaminathan with a token of our appreciation and gratitude.
I now request Dr. Seema Singh Ma'am to felicitate Honorable Mrs. Justice Mini Pushkarna.
I request Professor Dr. Gunjan Gupta Ma'am to felicitate Honorable Mrs. Justice Mini Pushkarna with a token of our appreciation and gratitude. A huge round of applause for Ma'am. I now request Professor Dr. Seema Singh Ma'am to felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice Girish Katpalia with a token of our appreciation and gratitude. A huge round of applause for sir.
Let's set the gracious tone for today's lecture with a warm welcoming address by our professor in charge, Professor Dr. Gunjan Gupta Ma'am.
A very good morning to all the esteemed guests, respected colleagues, and my dear students. Your presence today elevates this gathering, transforming it from a formal assembly into a collective pursuit of knowledge and reflection. This platform has always sought to be more than a series of lectures. It is a continuing dialogue, one that nurtures our shared democratic values and inspires us to weave the duty and jurisprudence into the fabric of our academic and civic lives. I welcome you all. This lecture gains a special significance with the gracious presence of the eminent judges from the High Courts of Delhi and Madras. It's a great honor and a privilege to welcome a jurist whose career reflects exceptional dedication, integrity, and service to the law. I take pride on behalf of Campus Law Center to welcome Justice G.R. Swaminathan. I welcome you, sir. Sir completed his law degree in 1990 and has practiced as an advocate for over 13 years in various courts in Chennai, serving as a standing counsel and later as an Assistant Solicitor General of India for the Madurai bench in 2014. He was elevated as an additional judge of the Madras High Court in June 2017 and subsequently made the permanent. And apart from this, Lordship has also authored several landmark judgments covering free speech, prisoners' rights, animal rights, and the rights of differently abled. And let me tell you, after having an interaction with him in the PIC's room, he has delivered 80,000 judgments in the span period of 8.5 years. It is a matter of great pride and privilege to welcome a jurist whose career exemplifies a dedication, wisdom, and service to the law. And I take pride again to welcome Justice Mini Pushkarna, a distinguished judge of the Delhi High Court, who was appointed in May 2022. I welcome you, ma'am. As esteemed alumnus of the Campus Law Center, her accomplishments continue to inspire us. She brings over 25 years of rich experience at the bar. Throughout her career, she has served as a standing counsel for numerous bodies, including MCD, the Delhi Urban Slum Improvement Board, and on the panel of Services Department of the Delhi government. Her practice has spanned diverse areas, including tender and contract matters, arbitration, service law, and civil suits. She has also been on the panel of arbitrators with the Delhi International Arbitration Center. A huge round of applause for her. In line, I also take pride to welcome our distinguished guest, Justice Girish Katpalia ji. It is really a privilege. I welcome you, sir. It is a privilege and honor to welcome him. He is one of the distinguished and cherished alumnus of Campus Law Center. Sir has practiced as an advocate across multiple jurisdictions and courts, and later serving as government counsel for both the government of NCT and the Union of India. Justice Girish Katpalia joined the Delhi Higher Judicial Service in 2002. He has presided over diverse jurisdictions, including additional district judge, additional session judge, motor accident claims tribunal, labor court, and NDPS court. He has also served as a Registrar General of Delhi High Court, Principal Judge of the Family Court, District and Session Judge of South East Delhi, and Principal District and Session Judge Headquarters, Delhi. Later, he was elevated as an additional judge of the Delhi High Court on 1st May 2023. I would also add here, he was teaching as a lecturer in Campus Law Center from the period 1995 to 98, and I had a privilege to teach along with him. I welcome you, sir. As we embark on today's discourse on Kartavyam jurisprudence, I extend my heartfelt welcome to each one of you. May this discussion deepens our understanding of duties that sustain our constitutional democracy and inspire us to uphold in both the thought and action. Let us engage, reflect, and carry forward the spirit of responsibility that defined this series. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your warm welcoming words. We would now like to invite the patron of this distinguished lecture series, Professor Dr. Alka Chawla ma'am, to enlighten us about this journey and progress of Kartavyam.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Justice Swaminathan, Honorable Justice Mini Pushkarna. I find it difficult to say Honorable Justice. She was my student here in Campus Law Center, and I always say, teachers remain at this podium, but their students, they fly high and they are stars on the sky. And that's one of the stars that Campus Law Center has produced. Honorable Justice Girish Katpalia, Gunjan has already told you about his stint with Campus Law Center. From student days till today, you just give him a call and he says, yes ma'am, hazir hain, jab aap bologe, aa jayenge. Thank you so much. Professor Gunjan Gupta, Professor in charge, my entire erudite faculty that I see here, all dear students, people from Knowledge Collective, advocates, ladies and gentlemen. Always this question, that's the first question that I ask. Why Kartavyam? Why duty? Why obligation? Why mandates? Because all these things, what do? They curtail our freedoms. But have you ever thought, can I walk free on the road without these obligations? Some obligations? Can I peacefully enjoy my property, my house, without obligations on others? So one answer that one can give is, freedom frees you, obligation binds you, duty binds you. But both freedom and duty, they have to go hand in hand. Otherwise, we will neither have freedom nor duty. So this is what, I've always thought. And both with Seema as a co-partner and Shantanu, one of the students, he's standing there, always there at our service under the guidance and the entire mentorship of our Vice Chancellor, who's the patron and chief of this program. I bring it to your notice that we started this Kartavyam this year only, and this is the 16th lecture that we are having today. I mean, there is no other, I think we are going to make a world record very soon, Seema, that on one topic, so many lectures are being held every time. We've always heard this song is so known to people. Mera hak ethe rakh, mera adhikar, my right. Whenever we sit on admission duties, students come and tell us, Madam, my right to this. And we have to tell them, bete admission to le lo pehle, phir uske baad rights ki baat karenge. So this is the kind of society that we are living in, and we thought that it's a very good society, but little bit of change has to be brought. I would not say change. If we look back our Indian tradition, at every lecture, I say a few words, and I'm going to repeat them here also, because every time the dignitaries are different. And they all know these words, and that is, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya. That's what India stands for. Manav Dharma, that is the dharma, duty towards humanity. Sadachar, strict adherence to our righteousness. And we have Vasudev Kutumbakam, which is very much enshrined in our constitution, because the first three words of the constitution say, we the people. That is what is the inclusiveness approach that we basically have. No status mentioned, no wealth mentioned, no caste mentioned. It's simply we the people. But then why are we saying, whenever you read any book, in fact, whatever book I have ever picked up, every book on constitutional law says, we have taken fundamental rights from US, we've taken directive principles of state policy from Ireland, we've taken fundamental duties from Russia, we've taken this from there, this from there. Our constitution is a global constitution. I think a time has now come where we should do a little bit of introspection, where we should look back and see, is our constitution global because of these countries? Or we were global from the very beginning itself? All those sentences and idioms that I spoke before you, they are all from the Indian tradition that we are talking about. They had taken it away from us. and put us into oblivion because we went into a stage of darkness because we were slaves to the foreign countries. And now a time has come when we should remember, अपने वेद हैं, उपनिषद हैं, अर्थशास्त्र हैं, एपिक्स हैं. रामायण सिर्फ एक कहानी नहीं है, महाभारत सिर्फ एक कहानी नहीं है. They teach you so many things. They tell you अधिकार आएगा तो कर्तव्य के साथ आएगा. कर्तव्य के बिना अधिकार की कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. ये हमारे देश ने हमेशा सिखाया है और हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन has also been read like that. We have our judges sitting right here. We called it full bench today. And why we say it is because these are the people who are telling the entire country, make directive principles of state policy enforceable, make fundamental duties enforceable. And they are making it, aren't you? You're combining it with fundamental rights all the time. So they're finding out new ways of bringing our Indian traditional system to the fore. We thought, let's do something. And that is why we brought this up. And I want to tell you all of you that this time when Parliament was in session, a question was raised in Parliament, and Parliament said that does government know Campus Law Center is running a series called Kartavyam? Does government know that by enforcing fundamental duties and directive principles of state policy, a new kind of democracy can come up? We can strengthen our democratic setup. So I think your work will be lessened now. You would, rather than putting things together, we will have some kind of a legislations which will also talk about the enforcement. I will not take much of your time, but one thing which I always want to say is, मेरा कर्तव्य, तुम्हारा कर्तव्य, आगे बोलो, हम सब का कर्तव्य. ये हमारा स्लोगन है जो हम भूल जाते हैं, जिसको हम याद रखना चाहते हैं. I would now also like to bring it to the notice of the dignitaries that we are basically collaborating with 21 universities and with Knowledge Collective. More universities wanted to collaborate, but somehow technically we could not handle everything. So we just put a stop at 21. And I would also be failing in my duty if I don't say, or if I don't give a big thank you to our Vice Chancellor, the Patron-in-Chief, who's giving us a free hand to do whatever we want to do. The backbone of the entire program. Seema, get up. Namaste to kar de. She is the backbone of our program. The entire thing has been, it's molded by her. And we have a student who was a student here and who still thinks कि मेरा कर्तव्य है कैंपस लॉ सेंटर के लिए काम करना, कर्तव्य को एक एंड मुकाम तक पहुंचाना, और वो है शांतनु और आप सब लोग. A big applause for all of you and for Shantanu. Stand up and show your face. He's passed out, sir, ma'am, and yet he is here for Kartavyam. That is the kind of student body that we have in Campus Law Center, which is evident here also. Thank you so much to everyone. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your powerful and enlightening words. Before we commence forth, I would like to call the coordinator from our knowledge partner, Knowledge Collective, Advocate Rahul, to shed some light upon the mission behind this collaboration.
Kartavya jurisprudence emphasizes the primacy of responsibilities of individual towards society, of the citizen towards the nation, and of humanity towards the larger collective good.
Very good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, a very warm welcome to all the esteemed dignitaries, Honorable Mr. Justice G.R. Swaminathan, sir, Honorable Mr. Justice Girish Katpalia, sir, Honorable Justice Mini Pushkarna, ma'am. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers who are the driving force behind this wonderful and pious initiative, which includes Dr. Yogesh Singh Ji, Patron-in-Chief and Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi, Professor Dr. Alka Chawla, ma'am, Patron Kartavyam, Professor Dr. Seema Singh Ji, who is the Program Director, Professor Dr. Mittal Ji, Professor Gunjan Gupta, ma'am, Professor in charge CLC, and all the other faculty members. It gives me immense pleasure to address this august gathering on behalf of Knowledge Collective, which is the proud knowledge partner of this prestigious event. The word Kartavyam finds its root in the word Kartavya, which is essentially Duties. While our great constitution provides us the sacrosanct rights, but the same holds very little significance if we fail to perform our corresponding duties. Kartavyam Lecture series has successfully helped us in learning the fine balance between rights and duties, and has in turn furthered the cause of our great constitution, which has completed 75 glorious years. We at Knowledge Collective have had the pleasure of having witnessed the successful organization of this lecture series by being able to contribute towards it and to have learned from it at the same time. In any society, law serves as a backbone of justice, equality, and order. However, laws can only be truly effective when people are aware of them, understand them, and know how to exercise their rights and fulfill their duties. Keeping this very thought in mind, Knowledge Collective has been established with the aim of strengthening legal education and improving the justice delivery system by keeping the legal research and policy making at its very core. The main aim of Knowledge Collective is to advance legal awareness to all those so that they are informed about their rights and duties. Empowering citizens, strengthening democracy, promoting access to justice, fostering peace and order, and enhancing trust in the legal system are some of the kartavyas that Knowledge Collective believes in and stands for, and this is why Knowledge Partner of this lecture series has been nothing short but a privilege for us. Being the coordinator of Knowledge Collective, I would like to thank all of you for giving us this opportunity to contribute and learn from this wonderful series, and we'll ensure that we make all the possible efforts to make this an unforgettable experience for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words. Kartavya jurisprudence invites us to reflect on how our duties shape the framework of justice, balance personal liberty with social order, and provide a moral compass in times of complexity. As we engage with this lecture, we continue to deepen our understanding of this evolving discourse that seeks to harmonize ancient wisdom with contemporary legal thought. Now, we'd like to invite Honorable Mr. Justice Girish Katpalia, Judge, High Court of Delhi, to deliver his share of insights and knowledge for the people present here with us. A huge round of applause for Sir, everyone.
Respected judges, respected teachers sharing the dais and off the dais, respected teachers, because we are there, because you are there. Whatever we are today, it's because of our teachers, and of course my dear students. Like most of you, I have been first generation lawyer. So I identify myself with you. I would prefer to speak in Hindi, may I? दोस्तों, एक बार एक घर में ना आग लग गई. जब आग लगी तो सारे ऑक्यूपेंट्स जो थे वो वहां से भाग गए. 2 लोग नहीं भाग पाए. एक वो जिसे दृष्टि नहीं थी, ब्लाइंड थे, और एक वो जिनकी टांगे नहीं थी, लेग्स नहीं थी. वो 2 लोग नहीं भाग पाए क्योंकि आंखों बिना वाले इंसान को रास्ता नहीं दिख सकता, टांगों बिना वाला इंसान भाग नहीं सकता. तो उन्होंने ये फैसला किया कि जो बिना टांगों वाला इंसान था वो ब्लाइंड आदमी के कंधे पर बैठ गया. अब वो जो बिना टांगों वाला इंसान था वो रास्ता बता सकता था और जो बिना आंखों वाला था वो दौड़ सकता था. तो इस तरह से एस्केप रूट मिला और वो बाहर निकल गए. जो बिना टांगों वाला इंसान था, दैट इज स्टैटिक, धर्म, और जो बिना आंखों वाला इंसान था वो डायनेमिक था, चल सकता था, दैट इज लॉ. सो व्हेन लॉ इज गाइडेड बाय धर्म, That's how Nyaya takes place, and that's how you run out of this burning building. Now, what is dharma? When I say dharma, इसको मैं क्लियर कर दूं कि धर्म ये वो हिंदू धर्म मुस्लिम धर्म वाला धर्म नहीं कह रहा हूं मैं. When I talk of dharma in today's scenario, it is a constitutional morality. धर्मो रक्षति रक्षिता. जब हम धर्म की रक्षा करते हैं तो धर्म हमारी रक्षा करता है. उन दो लोगों ने ये नहीं सोचा कि मेरा राइट है यहां से भाग जाना. जिसकी टांगे नहीं थी उसने कहा मेरी ड्यूटी है कि मैं रास्ता बताऊं, और जो देख सकता था उसने सोचा कि मेरी ड्यूटी है कि मैं भाग के दोनों को बचाऊं. दैट इज वेयर लाइज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन धर्म and talk of rights. Today we are talking all big things of right. Dharma is basically a duty based order. Unlike many of our Western philosophies which we have borrowed, they are right based. It's always my right versus your right. When we talk of rights, it will certainly lead to conflict somewhere or the other. Duty does not lead to conflict in society. And when the conflict of two rights takes place, it generates a cynicism towards the system and dissatisfaction in the society. My difficulty has been that throughout, ever since I joined this faculty, I used to have a lot of talks with my teachers, and I'm very happy to see that today there is some change. I used to say that why are we talking always about rights? I don't know what is the status today, but in our times, I never saw a union leader, students' union leader, talking anything about the duty. He would always say right of the student. I never heard a union leader, I don't know now present day setup, I never heard a union leader telling his voter students that you have a duty to study, you have a duty to respect the institution, you have a duty to spend your energies in positive directions. Friends, there's another important aspect. Whenever we talk of rights or duties, we all have been reading about Hoffidian analysis. Right can't exist without a dual correlate of duty. So when we will talk about duty, it will not exist without right. But at the same time, it's just a matter of paradigm shift. What I'm today talking about your right, I have to start talking about my duty towards you. Now, here I would again discuss something about your duties, our duties in fact. Never think that you are a common man. I have always said, earlier also I think I came here and I said this. We are not common men. Common privileged man is not just the judges or the politicians or the big industrialists. Each one of you is a privileged person, not a common man. You are privileged because you can take interest in other person's interests. Who is the common man then? Common man is that rickshaw wala who could not stop at the red light and the cop came and deflated his tire without bothering from where he will get money for whole day. He'll lose his daily wages. Common man is that manual scavenger who entered into the manhole for keeping the things clean for us and died there without protective gear. He is the common man. Common man is transgenders who have no right, no recognition in society. Till recently, you had to either tick either male or female or others. No recognition of transgender. And I'll share with you on transgender is a very important aspect which I would appeal to the authorities to consider. We held a conference in Tisazari courts on transgenderism. So, few transgenders also were invited as resource persons. Now, one of them came and said, okay, you talk all big things, transgenderism and the various shades of transgenderism and all those big things. He said the basic thing is our basic fundamental need. And that need is, he said, there is in no public place you have earmarked toilets for transgenders. They say if we enter ladies' toilets, ladies would call police, we would get arrested. If we enter males' toilets, we get molested. Why should there be no separate earmarked transgender toilet? Naturally, I felt convinced, so since that time I was in authority, so before end of the conference, I earmarked one of the toilets in Tisazari as the first transgender toilet. When I spoke about it, when I tried to convince my other colleagues to earmark one toilet, just one toilet for a transgender, do you know the response was, how many transgenders come to court? I say, even if one transgender comes, it is my duty to protect his right. This is where I believe you need a paradigm shift and convert into what is his right into my duty. And you students, you people can do great work, you can do great wonders. There are so many people who don't even know that they are being trampled over. Now this rickshawala does not know that he is being trampled over by this cop who deflated his wheel. You be the voice of that voiceless. That is your duty. Being a student, please carry out good researches, bring PILs to courts, and convince us that it is your duty, so you are fighting for right of someone else. And please do it. You have a tremendous duty because you are privileged. You have a duty to speak for the have-nots. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful address. Your reflections on Dharmo Rakshati Rakshata and the dynamic balance between dharma and rights were truly enlightening. Now we would like to invite Honorable Miss Justice Mini Pushkarna, Judge High Court of Delhi, to address this gathering with her experience and knowledge. A huge round of applause for ma'am.
Good afternoon, Justice G.S. Swaminathan, Justice Girish Katpalia, Ma'am Alka Chawla, Professor Gunjan Gupta, Professor Seema Singh, teachers, dear students, and everyone who's present here. Campus Law Center, University of Delhi, is commemorating the 75 years of the journey of the Indian Constitution with the lecture series Kartavyam to foster an intellectual dialogue on the constitutionalism, legal philosophy, and the evolving duty jurisprudence of India. After 8 decades of independence, we stand at a defining moment in our journey where we must turn from rights to responsibilities and from privilege to purpose. When we speak of the Indian Constitution, we are instinctively drawn to view it as the supreme law of the land that protects the rights of the people of this country. And rightly so, for the fundamental rights enshrined in Part 3 of the Constitution are the lifelines of our democracy. However, a constitution which is built only on rights is like a house with a single pillar. It is noble in design, but precarious in balance. What sustains liberties is the long run, is not merely a guarantee of rights, but the practice of duties. The meaning of duty has been the subject of great thought. Like John Austin, an English legal theorist, defined duty as an obligation of an individual to act according to the command of the sovereign or risk sanction. This perspective of imposition of duties by state sanction was later shifted by Roscoe Pound, an American legal scholar, who viewed duty not as a tool for coercion, but rather as a tool for social engineering. Duty was seen as an obligation that secured the interests of others and helped maintain social order. The concept developed by Roscoe Pound was further refined by an American jurist, Wesley Hohfeld, who famously stated that every right has a correlative and corresponding duty. And that's where we stand today. Whilst the West gave its own meaning of the duty, the concept was not foreign to our Indian civilization. In fact, at the very heart of the Indian society lies the concept of dharma, the moral compass that guides us all to fulfill our duty. Kartavyam, or the duty that must be done, is central to our moral order and social life. The Indian civilization never relegated the idea of kartavyam or duty to be secondary to rights. The Dharma Shastra and epics such as the Mahabharata taught us that every person is born into a web of obligations owed to family, to society, to nature, and to the divine. To discharge these obligations was to live a righteous life. To ignore them was to fall into disorder. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna encourages Arjuna not to abandon his kartavyam as a warrior, teaching him that true freedom lies not in escaping duty, but in performing it selflessly, without attachment to the fruits. In this worldview, the word kartavyam did not carry with it a sense of burden. Rather, it was regarded as a moral necessity and as being the natural order of things. This duty was not imposed by the state through sanctions. It was embedded in the very conception of life. A father's kartavyam was to take care of his child. A king's kartavyam was to protect his subjects. A scholar's kartavyam was to seek knowledge and share it. These duties were seen as the foundation upon which justice, harmony, and liberty could rest. In the modern Indian society, our legal order emanates from the grand norm of our constitution. When the Constitution was first adopted in 1950, it spoke of length of the fundamental rights, but made no explicit mention of the fundamental duties. The emphasis of the framers at that time was in securing liberty for citizens after a long struggle against the injustice of the colonial rule. It was only in the mid-1970s, during the period of multiple changes in the constitutional scheme, that the Swaran Singh Committee recommended the inclusion of duties to balance this framework of rights. A similar scheme for the recognition of the fundamental duties was also seen in the Constitution by the former Soviet Union. Acting on the recommendations made by the Swaran Singh Committee, the Parliament enacted the 42nd Amendment Act in 1976 that enumerated the 10 fundamental duties in Article 51A of the Constitution of India. These duties remind us that obligations that flow from our citizenship. They call upon every citizen to respect the Constitution, the national flag, and the national anthem, to cherish the noble ideals that inspired our freedom struggle, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of our country, to defend the country and render national service when called upon, to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood, transcending religious, linguistic, and religious differences, to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women, or to value, preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. It enjoins upon us to protect, improve the natural environment, and to have compassion for the living creatures. It encourages us to develop a scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. And finally, it teaches us to safeguard the public property and abjure violence. When I was just coming inside the Campus Law Center, I mentioned it to the honorable teachers here also, that there was 2-3 cars which I saw parked right outside the gate of the college. As students, when it is our duty that our teachers give us the best education which we want, it is also our duty to ensure that we give that respect to this institution who is giving you this education. So please, it is your duty to respect the institution, to follow the law, and ensure that you do not park your cars anywhere you want. If it is your right to have a good education from your teachers, please, all the students, it is your duty to ensure that you not only respect the institution, but also ensure that the reputation of your institution carries. And you are the face, the students are the face of this institution. Your conduct, what you do, show what the institution stands for. So it is your duty to ensure that when people visit your institution, they see it as an institution which imbibes in you not only the best education, but you as students, you show that whatever you have learned from this education institution, you are actually following it in practicality. So don't just see anything as your right, it is your duty also. So I'm sure next time when I come to this institution, there would be no parked cars outside the gate. Okay, and now what I would like to say that with the change in time, there came a growing recognition that for achieving our most cherished goals, we would have to enforce certain duties too. Rights and duties are two sides of the same coin, each not being sustainable with each other. A society that claims rights without performing duties risks seeing the liberalism turn fragile, contested and hollow. Kartavyam, the duty, is then not to be viewed as a constraint placed in our freedom. It is in fact the condition that makes the existing of rights possible and meaningful. A person's realization of a right is dependent on another person's performance of duty. Right of a person to clean and healthy environment endures only when others exercise the duty to throw garbage in the bins and not on the streets. Right of a person to use public resources with dignity endures when others do not scribble on the walls or damage the public property. Right of a person of a democratic government endures when others exercise their duty to cast votes without fear or favor. Right of a person to freedom of speech endures when others exercise the duty to listen with tolerance. Right of a person to truth endures when others exercise the duty not to spread the fake news. Right of a person to equality and non-discrimination endures when others check their biases and treat people of other religions, castes, and genders equally. Right of a person to life endures when others accept duty not to harm. The right of future generation to ecological balance endures when we choose to save the planet today. In this sense, when placed in the larger philosophy of constitutionalism, rights and duties form the twin pillars of the social contract. A constitution does not merely confer entitlements, it demands responsibilities that sustain collective life. Rights without duties risk descending into license, and duties without rights collapse into authoritarian command. It is in this equilibrium of both that the true spirit of constitutionalism resides, where the individual and the community are bound together in mutual obligation, forming a social contract. One of the most significant interpretations given by the Indian judiciary goes far as the late 1960s, even before Article 51A of the Constitution had been introduced. The Supreme Court, in the case of Chandra Bhavan Boarding and Lodging, Bangalore versus State of Mysore, this is 1963, 3 SEC 84, held that it is a fallacy to think that our Constitution provides only rights and no duties. While upholding the validity of a notification fixing minimum wages for hotel and restaurant employees, the court held that the directive principles of state policy under Part 4 of the Constitution enable the legislature to impose duties on the citizens to implement the constitutional mandate of building a welfare society and ensuring social, economic, and political justice. After the incorporation of the fundamental duties into our Constitution, the courts have often relied upon them as tools for interpretation. In the case of Mohan Singh Singhania versus Union of India, 1992 Supplementary 1 SEC 594, the Supreme Court upheld the government decision to give utmost importance to the training program of selectees under the Indian Administrative Service. In its reasoning, the court relied upon Article 51AJ of the Constitution, which provides a duty on every citizen to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individuals and collective activity, so that the nation rises to higher levels of achievement. Later, in the seminal case of AIMS Students' Union versus AIMS and others, this is 2001 SEC 428, the Supreme Court dealt with a matter where students challenged the institutional reservation for AIMS candidates in postgraduate courses. While holding the institutional reservation to be ultra vires of the Constitution, the court held that although fundamental duties are not enforceable in the same manner as the fundamental rights are, one cannot lose sight of the fact that word duties has been prefixed with the term fundamental. Thus, every citizen is fundamentally obligated to develop a scientific temper, humanism, and to strive towards excellence so that the nation rises to the highest levels of achievements. In a similar fashion of using fundamental rights as a means of interpretation, the Supreme Court, in the case of Javed and others versus State of Haryana, 2003, 8 SEC 369, upheld the constitutional validity of sections 175(1)(q) and section 177(1) of the Haryana Panchayati Raj Act 1994. These provisions disqualified a person having more than 2 living children from holding offices in the panchayats. While holding that the right to contest elections is only a statutory duty and not a fundamental or common law right, the court also emphasized that fundamental rights are not to be read in isolation. They have to be read along with the directive principles of state policy and the fundamental duties under the Constitution. Thus, the court held that the concept of sustainable development, which emerges as a fundamental duty under Article 51A of the Constitution, requires population growth to be kept within reasonable bounds. So therefore, in that case, a person having 2 living children was not allowed to contest the Panchayati Raj elections, and the court upheld, because to see it as a duty to ensure that there is sustainable development in the society, for that we need to really ensure that there is curtailment in the population growth also. While championing the rights of animals, the Supreme Court in the case of State of Gujarat versus Mirzapur Moti Qureshi Kasab, 2005 8 SEC 534, upheld the constitutional validity of the ban imposed on cow slaughter by the Bombay Animal Preservation Gujarat Amendment Act 1994. In the interest of the general public, Article 19(6) of the Constitution of the India, the majority opinion noted that Article 51AG of the Constitution enjoins a fundamental duty on every citizen to have compassion for the living creatures, including the protection of cows under the directive principles of state policy in Articles 48 and 48A of the Constitution. Similarly, in yet another landmark case, the Supreme Court, in the case of Shyam Narayan Choksi versus Union of India, 2018 to SCC 582, answered whether citizens are required to show respect for the national anthem. The court, while relying upon Article 51A of the Constitution, held that there is no shadow of doubt that one is compelled to show respect whenever and wherever the national anthem is played, with the exception that disabled persons need not stand when the national anthem is played. The court held that showing respect for the country is the vital to the nation. At the same time, the court modified its earlier order and made playing of the national anthem in cinema halls to be optional. So thus, similarly, in the case of rural litigation and entitlement Kendra versus State of Uttar Pradesh, 1986 SEC Online 559, the Supreme Court upheld the complete ban as well as the closing of mining operations in the Mussoorie Hills. The bench, through Justice Rangnath Mishra, observed that preservation of the environment and maintaining the ecological balance is not only the task of the government, but also the responsibility of the citizens. Every citizen has a fundamental duty under Article 51AG of the Constitution to protect the environment. In the watershed case of Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum versus Union of India, 1996, 5 SEC 647. Sorry, I'm referring to the judgments because I thought to show how the courts have also imbibed this thing about how the duties are to be enforced at an institutional level. The Supreme Court dealt with the question of environmental pollution caused by the tannery industries. The court held that though the leather industry is vital for the country, it cannot be permitted to destroy the ecology, degrade the environment, and create health hazards. Among others, the court placed reliance on Article 51AG of the Constitution again to hold that precautionary principle and polluter pays principle are part of laws of the land. Thus, every industry has to take precautions not to cause environmental pollution. In case damage is caused to the environment, the owners would be on the party who caused the pollution to make good and pay the cost towards restoration of the environment. So in a catena of judgments, the Supreme Court and in fact various courts of high courts and other courts have made it clear that when the courts are faced with the task of testing the validity of any statutory provision or checking the reasonableness of any restriction imposed by the law on the exercise of a fundamental right, fundamental duties play a significant role. It is no doubt true that fundamental duties provide a valuable guide and aid the interpretation of the Constitution as they impose social obligations on all the citizens of India. As such, it would be difficult for any court to exclude the same from its consideration. Both the judiciary as well as the executive are aware of this problem. Mere incorporation of fundamental duties under Article 51A of the Constitution would not be sufficient for implementing them, given their non-justiciable status. To address these concerns, the Government of India also set up the Verma Committee to operationalize the fundamental duties of the citizens. This strategy of operationalization is based upon the belief that the onus to discharge fundamental duties is on every citizen, and there is no superior authority to teach citizens of their duty to fulfill all the duties which are enjoined upon us. And with a view to enforce these duties, a petition in fact is also pending in the Supreme Court by the name of Durga Dutt versus Union of India and others, writ petition 67 of 2022, in which notice was issued by the Supreme Court in the year 2022. And well, the problem which raises certain questions: how do we effectualize the fundamental duties, and to what extent? What would be the result when these fundamental duties are not followed? One possible answer for effectualizing these duties is to be framing duty-specific legislations which transform these social and moral obligations into tangible responsibilities. For instance, the fundamental duty to respect the national flag and the anthem is also enforced through the duty-specific legislation, such as the Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act 1971 and the Emblems and Names Prevention of Improper Use Act 1950. There are yet again several provisions under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 that ensure that activities such as encouraging enmity between different groups based on religion or practices derogatory to the dignity of women are penalized. The benefit of this approach of enacting duty-specific legislation is that these legislations can be amended from time to time to reflect the evolving standards of the duty of the country. The soul of the Indian Constitution lies in the preamble, which enjoins we, the people of India, to shoulder the responsibility of constituting India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Sovereignty demands that citizens remain vigilant, defend the nation, and respect its institutions. Socialism requires citizens to renounce practices that perpetuate inequality. Even while engaging employees and workers in private establishment, citizens must pay reasonable wages. Secularism flourishes when citizens respect all faiths and do not denigrate any religion through their words or conduct. Democracy sustains not merely by voting, but by civic participation and informed public debates by the citizens. The preamble also sets our vision for achieving justice, equality, liberty, and fraternity. To achieve this social, economic, and political justice, citizens must protect the weak and marginalized and ensure honesty in commerce and labor wages. Liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship thrives when citizens exercise tolerance, humanism, and do not indulge in hate speech. Equality of status and opportunity is best assured when citizens look beyond the artificial barriers of religion, caste, class, and gender divisions and treat each other with dignity and empathy. Fraternity comes alive only when citizens abjure violence and show compassion to all living beings. The preamble is therefore not just a promise of rights. It is a vision of our tomorrow that can be only achieved when citizens commit to fulfilling their duties. The duties mentioned in law must shape the civic behavior of the people in our country for it to move from the pages of the Constitution into the lived experience of the governance. For that, we must look beyond the statutes and regulations and re-engage with our deepest cultural values. We must move away from the external sense of duty for an innate sense of responsibility, a return to the principles of Kartavyam and Dharma that have been the bedrock of our civilization. We must return to our ancient roots where duty is not imposed by the state, but is rather regarded as the self-fulfilling activity for spiritual upliftment and well-being of the people. And in today's scenario, when we have these legislations like to protect the rights of the senior citizens, where the children, they are enjoined upon to ensure that they have the responsibility to take care of their aged parents. Why do we have to do this? Because probably at some point of time, at some phase, the children, they have forgotten that it is not through the legislation that they have to ensure respect and take care of their parents, but it is our innate duty, which is our sanskar, which we are just given even from our childhood. So if we just remember our own sanskars, our duties, so our society would be a much better place to live, where there would be a harmony, where not even the parents, of course, love their children, but the children also have that respect for their parents and not only think that what are parents doing for them. It's for the children to think, what are they doing for their parents at the end of the day? And then to conclude, I will say, let us remember the words, Adhikaram prastisthayam kartavyam nev hayet. Adhikaro na tishthem yadi karm na vidyate. One should never abandon one duties while seeking rights, for rights do not exist where duty is not performed. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your enlightening address. Thank you, ma'am, for emphasizing the importance of fundamental duties and the transition from rights to responsibilities. Now, we would like to invite Honorable Justice G.R. Swaminathan, Judge, High Court of Madras, to share his perspective and enrich our understanding on this occasion. A huge round of applause for Sir.
Good afternoon to one and all. It's 12:52 now. I would request Ikra. Your name is Ikra, right? I remember. You will remind me exactly at 1:22, okay? To stop. See, I've come all the way from Madurai. It's almost 3-hour journey. So when I return, my wife may ask me, for how long you spoke to the students? I should say at least for 30 minutes I spoke, okay? And Justice Pushkarna ji was cataloging a long list of Kartavya. I would like to add one more Kartavya. The duty of the audience is to listen to me, even if I bore them, and not to leave the hall, okay? Friends, to start on a serious note, I was really touched when I was sitting in Professor Guptaji's chambers. See, whenever I go to the schools, one advice I invariably add in my lecture is, children, learn to do pranam to your mother every day before you leave for the school. This is what I tell them. And I have been to several colleges, several institutions. Only in Campus Law Center, I saw students when entering touching the feet of their acharyas. And I was in tears. I was so happy. The faculty members, they have imbibed the right values and you have got instilled in you. I congratulate you. This is the way you should be. And always keep it up. And I hope Justice Girish will not mind if I pull his leg a bit. See, he is a sitting judge. Of course, I am also a sitting judge only, though now I am standing. So we are all afraid of the Supreme Court, right? So he was he commenced his lecture with reference to dharma. Immediately he entered into a defensive mode. When I say dharma, I don't mean this, that. Dharma is constitutional morality, he said. I dare say constitutional morality has nothing to do with dharma, as we understand. Dharma is different from constitutional morality. So in fact, I would invite Sai Deepak to give a lecture on what is dharma and what is constitutional morality and how the two are different or where they maybe overlap. But having pulled his leg a bit, let me tell you friends, I was really moved when he referred to the underdog, the common people. I was really touched. And one point which he spoke, his contribution as a DJ of Tis Hazari courts, what he did for the transgender people. Brother, I have also done something similar to that while sitting as a judge of the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court. A couple come before me. One is a transgender, other is a cis male. They got married in a temple in Tuticorin. They go to the registrar. They wanted to register their marriage under the Hindu Marriage Act. The registrar said, as per the Hindu Marriage Act, marriage can be between a bride and a bridegroom. Who is a bride? Bride means woman on her wedding day. You are not a woman, you are a trans person. Therefore, I will not register your marriage, rejected. She files an appeal, rejected. Then she filed a writ petition and it came before me. The moment it came before me, I simply seized the opportunity. Because way back in 2002, when I was a young, not even 10-year-old lawyer at the bar, a group of trans persons came to me. I said, what do you want? They said, we want electoral ID card. And they said, without an identity, we can't get a loan, nothing we can get. I filed a PIL, which is what Justice Girish was asking you to file. I filed a PIL saying, for electoral ID cards must be issued to trans persons. And the first bench of the Madras High Court issued a direction, the first of its kind in the entire country. And trans persons began to get their cards. And since then, I began to have a regular interaction with them. They'll come home, they'll have a tea with me. So I have a great kind of, an empathy with them. And when this case came before me, I thought this was my moment. I said the word bride means not only a regular woman, but who perceives herself as a woman. In fact, I was following witness framework laid down by the Honorable Supreme Court in Nalsa case. And I said, it will include not only a woman, but also a trans woman, I said. And I said, this marriage will be registered. And fortunately, Tamil Nadu government accepted the verdict. And now I request every one of you, please, if you have a Google, note it down. Or if you have a paper and pen, also note it down. Arun Kumar versus IG of registration. Please do. And you will then see Justice Girish and Justice Swaminathan are on the same page when it comes to taking up the cause of transgenders. Friends, I feel truly honored to be here to deliver this Kartavyam lectures. My thanks, my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Seema Singh, but for her kind invitation, I won't be standing here. And having come here, I have been privileged to Chawla ji and Gupta ji. It's easy to remember, Gupta ji, okay? In fact, we were all having a chat in the anteroom. Gupta ji was asking Justice Pushkarna what portfolio you are handling. Pushkarna ji said, I've been handling IPR. See, in Delhi, Bombay, and other places, you have this heavy commercial court litigations, IPR, and things like that. You see, I am in Madurai, down south. This 500 kilometers south from Chennai. And the kind of litigation we have is quite different. See, I'll tell you only 2 cases alone. The first case was on Friday, just 3 days ago. The lady goes to register her sale deed. Registrar says, no, I won't register, returned, rejected. She files a writ petition, it comes before me. I asked the GP, Arey, why did you say no? He said, Lordship, see the patta. In the patta only her name is there. Then her husband's name is not there. Oh, sir, her father's name is also not there. Oh, therefore we rejected it. So I thought this man must be a follower of Manusmriti, that a woman should be under the protection of her father originally, then husband during middle age, and then son at the final stage. I said, no, those days are gone. Now we are in the age of constitutional morality. Girishji, I've come back to you now. Okay? I said, register. Her name is there, that is sufficient. You are not doubting her title. Register, I said. That is one kind of a case. The other kind of case, last year. See, I don't read the bundles at home. I read only when I open the dais, on the dais. I just said to stop some wedding. So I thought it's something similar to a PIL to stop a child marriage. Fine. I was opening the papers. Then I saw that they want to stop the wedding to take place between 2 trees, people tree and bamboo tree, a neem tree. I said, of course, when a man can marry a fellow man, and nothing wrong in a tree marrying another tree. So I thought nothing wrong with that. So I said, then I just called the parties. And they were, the bloody fight was in the offing, literally. I said, what's your problem? Sir, people tree and bamboo, bamboo means neem, are going to get married. See, it's a part of an annual temple festival. I said, is it not happening every year? Yes, sir, it is happening every year after year it is happening. Then what is the problem this year? I said, sir, this year they have chosen the plant-like thing. Sir, this people is the male, neem is the female. But in this case, this neem is elder to the people by 2 years. How can that be, sir? I said, Arey, I didn't know how to resolve this issue. And some 10 people, all villagers, rustic villagers, very vegetated they were. I called both of them. All right. Do you all watch cricket? I asked them. Yes. See, even though they are villagers, in cricket is unfortunately a cricket mad country. So even they are also cricket lovers. I said, fine. Who is your hero? I asked them. Both of them said Virat Kohli. This happened 2 years ago. Now I think the hero would have been changed, I think. All right. Next, Dhoni. Fine. Next. Then all of them said Tendulkar. Fine. I said, who is Tendulkar's wife? I asked them. Interestingly, I said, Anjali, they said. I said, do you know Anjali is elder to Tendulkar by 4 years? I asked them. I see, sir, is it so? I said, it's a very good president. I will follow that president. Yes, name tree can marry a younger people tree. Yes, dismissed. See, I am dealing only with such kind of cases. I am so jealous of Miss Pushkarnaji. She is dealing with IPR, commercial litigation, this, that. So when Seemaji said, Swami, come to Delhi, give a talk on constitution, I was so thrilled. I lapped up the offer. And that is why I am before you. And Seemaji was kind enough. God, already 14 minutes over. Friends, Seemaji was kind enough to leave the topic to me. So I thought I'll choose something from current happening. See, all of us are concerned about what is happening in Ladakh, Leh Ladakh. See, agitation is going on. It turned violent. Some 4 people died, and the government has blamed Shri Sonam Wangchuk for all this, and they have slapped the detention order under the National Security Act. I take this. Friends, I asked you, what is preventive detention? See, you commit a crime, you are arrested for that. That is a normal, arrest thing. Preventive detention is not that. It is a little different. And National Security Act is all about preventive detention. It refers to the detention of a person to prevent him from committing a crime or doing some act injurious to the society. Interception of the mischief maker at the potential stage is the distinguishing feature of preventive detention. See, this power is exercised by whom we call as a detaining authority. Please make a mental note of these words, detaining authority. See, tomorrow when you enter practice, you may have to file a habeas corpus petition for such detainees. It can be the government or the delegate of the government, a district collector or a commissioner of police in metropolitan cities. Proposal to detain will come from the sponsoring authority. It's another word that you must make a mental note, who will invariably be the jurisdictional inspector of police. The detaining authority must be subjectively satisfied that the person, if left at large, would be a menace. He would indulge in criminal activities. He would endanger public safety. Then the authority would pass a detention order. It is anticipatory in nature. Friends, all of you are clear? You must ask yourself this question. This is the first point of this lecture. What is preventive detention? Go do your own homework. Okay? All right. Friends, I said this order was passed under which act? Loud. National Security Act. It is called as NSA. You can just Google it. Very tiny piece of legislation, just 18 sections. In about 20 minutes, you can run through the whole thing and you can even fully understand also. What does it say? I'll give the statutory framework in a matter of a minute or so. It says detention order can be passed to prevent someone from committing any act prejudicial to the security of state, national security, defense of India, or India's foreign relations. If the order is passed with the delegate, say collector or commissioner of police, then he must report it to the government and the government must approve it in 12 days. Then the matter has to be referred to the advisory board, which will be headed by a sitting or retired High Court judge. See, when Pushkarnaji or Brother Girish or myself, when we retire, we have got enough remunerative work, In fact, Justice Arun, Minister Arun Jaitley, in his parliamentary, he said, judges, they create, employment for retired judges. So this advisory board also can be, headed by a sitting or retired judge. In fact, in reality, we did some retired judge. If the advisory board says okay, the detention will continue. If the advisory board says not okay, the order will be revoked. This reference to the advisory board must be made within 3 weeks. See, even if the advisory board says okay, the maximum period of detention will be 12 months. See, Sonam Wangchuk, he has been arrested September. So this order will be valid till next to September. 12 months is the maximum period. There are various enactments. Black Marketing Act, it is 6 months. PIT NDPS Act, that is 2 years. NSA, Coffee Posta, etc., they are all 1 year. So they prescribe varying periods of detention. Friends, I am not an astrologer. I have not read this Sonam Wangchuk's detention order. He is even yet to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the detention order. But my prediction is this order will be quashed, set aside by the High Court or Supreme Court whenever it is challenged. I make bold to make this assertion. You may be wondering, why I say so? That is, on account of the jurisprudence developed over the years, any order of preventive detention will find it impossible to withstand judicial scrutiny. The orders passed would be upheld in those rare cases when the judge's moral, mark my word, moral conscience is satisfied, not because he is legally convinced. So that is why the theme of this 15-minute lecture is perils of interpretation with reference to preventive detention. Seemaji, all of them have been waxing eloquent on Kartavyam, duty. I say we have a duty to interpret the provisions, including the constitutional provisions, correctly and properly. So it is this, from this point of view, I am approaching this issue. Friends, I said preventive detention. Let's come back to preventive detention. Let me tell you, it is not something invented by Amit Shah ji. No. It is authorized in the Constitution itself. Please make a note of it. Entry 9 in the union list, entry 3 in the concurrent list, and the second half of Article 22. These 3 deal with the preventive detention in the Constitution itself. But its passage through the Constituent Assembly was not smooth. One member said executive would misuse it. Another said it is abominable to a free country. Yet another said Constitution stands disfigured because of incorporation of this provision. Mahavir Tyagi commented, I wish Dr. Ambedkar and other members of the drafting committee had had the experience of detention in British jails. But Dr. Ambedkar and Sir Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer threw their full scholarly weight behind this provision and ensured its passage. You are all students of constitutional law, and you know fully well that the first major constitutional case is which one? What is the first major constitutional case? A.K. Gopalan. AIR 1950 SC 27. AIR 1950 SC 27. See, unlike Pushkarna ji, I repeat the citation twice. But I tried to note it down, but she was like a Rajdhani Express, she was just going on. Therefore, I was not able to note down the citation. So I decided, I gave up the endeavor. See, in that case, Justice A.K. Gopalan challenged the very validity of this Preventive Detention Act through his advocate, the renowned M.K. Nambiyar, none other than the father of Sri K.K. Venugopal. The Supreme Court upheld the act, but said one provision is bad because that provision enabled the government to withhold the grounds of detention even from the court itself. But all the judges voiced their discomfort, And now I will be falling on the same page with Gupta ji, Simhaji and others. See, all those judges, 1950, Patanjali Sastri, Khania, Fasal Ali, Mahajan, all of them, they were all groomed in the colonial common law tradition. So they were not able to digest this. See, in England, detention laws was there, but it was there only during wartime, not during peacetime. But our constitution provided for preventive detention even during peace times. So therefore, Fasal Ali said, deprivation of one's personal liberty without trial is a serious matter, and that the detainee must be allowed a fair chance to establish his innocence. Patanjali Sastri said, this is a sinister looking feature, so strangely out of place in a democratic constitution and incompatible with the premises of the preamble. Mahajan said it is repugnant. To the great B.K. Mukherjee, it is undoubtedly unfortunate. To S.R. Das, preventive detention law is odious, O-D-I-O-U-S, odious at all times. Array, what an auspicious beginning we had. My brother and sister judge on the dais should not mistake me. When a judge takes oath, we swear to abide by the constitution. But swear has got another meaning also, using very harsh, rude words. See, in A.K. Gopalan, the judges who had sworn by the constitution, I say, swore at the constitution. Swearing by and swearing at. Okay? This is how the entire jurisprudence of detention began with A.K. Gopalan. But in A.K. Gopalan, one thing was well settled. They said the satisfaction of the executive is subjective in nature. Subjective. It is not objective, mind you, subjective. And ask yourself the distinction between subjective and objective. Okay? See, so take an actress, say Sridevi. See, my generation, see, I belong to the boomer generation. Okay? So for me, only Sridevi will be the heroine. So I will say Sridevi is the most beautiful woman in the world. But many of you may disagree. This is subjective. In my perception, she is beautiful. In the eyes of Shantanu, she is not. Okay? For Shantanu, somebody else will be the good-looking person. What Shantanu can smile? All right. Subjective and objective. A.K. Gopalan said, satisfaction is subjective. But in the very next year, in ARS Vaidya, please make a note of the citation. AR 1951 SC 157. I'll repeat again. AR 1951 SC 157. There, again 5 judges bench, 2 dissented, but the majority by Chief Justice Khania, he's developed Article 22(5). Friends, when you go back home, again take the constitution and read this Article 22(5) slowly. And Justice Khania said, all right, it says, Article 22 says, the government must afford the earliest opportunity of making representation to the detainee. That opportunity must be given to the detainee. The opportunity of making the earliest representation. Khania makes an interpretation. This enabling an opportunity, it does not mean merely giving a paper and pen and enabling a postal dispatch alone, not that alone. Something more. See, I may not be able to test the sufficiency of materials which are enough to satisfy the conscience of the detaining authority. I may not go into that. That is subjective. But I will test whether the materials supplied to the detainee are sufficient to enable him to make an effective representation. Friends, it's a very nuanced distinction. I request every one of you to go back home and read the judgment of Justice Khania. And again, read the dissenting judgment of Justice Patanjali Sastri also. Patanjali Sastri literally, hit his on his head. He said, you have virtually unsettled the proposition laid down in A.K. Gopalan. Now you have made the whole thing objective. So ARS Vaidya, see A.K. Gopalan, the beginning was a very inauspicious beginning. But in ARS Vaidya, something worse had happened. Friends, due to sheer paucity of time, I will be skipping, in fact, some 10 to 15 citations are there. I have done a careful homework also, but I am skipping all of them. I am taking only one proposition to drive home my thesis, only one proposition, and that is A.K. Roy judgment. See, in this NSA, the validity was challenged in 1982, and the validity of the act was upheld in AIR 1982 SC 710. AIR 1982 SC 710. This judgment alone I will take up for a slightly detailed treatment. Friends, I told you in the beginning the statutory scheme of the act. Once a detention order is passed, it has to be referred to the advisory board. The advisory board, which will be headed by a sitting or a retired high court judge, will test the correctness, whether the sufficiency, the need for the detention to continue. I said so. Now, what should be the procedure before the advisory board? This point was considered in the Constituent Assembly, and Sir Alladi emphatically declared that if one is going to insist on notice, charge, hearing, examination and cross-examination and representation by counsel, the advisory board would be converting itself into a magistrate's court with all its paraphernalia, and the very purpose of the article will be defeated. Friends, all of you know Article 22(1), how it starts? It says, an arrestee is entitled to consult and be defended by a legal practitioner of his choice, which means he can engage a counsel. 22(1) says. But read 22(3). It says, what is said in 22(1) will not apply in the case of a person detained under preventive detention law, which means 22(1) will not apply to 22(3) detention law, which means you can't have a counsel. See, in fact, this was recognized by in A.K. Roy's case. So, when in NSA they said you can't have an advocate, Supreme Court says that is true, that's what the Constitution also says. But after saying so, Justice Chandrachud, the father of the recent one, he said it was a very strange application of the equality principle. The detainee will be entitled to the assistance of a lawyer if the detaining authority or the government was represented through lawyer or legal advisors. What is this here? Which means if the security force is having a AK-47, the terrorist also must be given an AK-47. He said something like that. But anyway, that is how the equality principle was applied. Then he said, of course, there is an embargo only on a lawyer not appearing, not on any next friend who is not a lawyer. A next friend can appear. That is how they interpreted in A.K. Roy. But the matter did not end there. Please note down the next citation. Kavita, 1981, 3 SEC 558. 1981, 3 SEC 558. Then Nandalal Bajaj, same year, 1981, 4 SEC 327. 1981, 4 SEC 327. See, in these two cases, the Supreme Court said, of course, I can't demand legal representation as a matter of right, but I can request for the service of a lawyer. When a request for legal assistance is made, it has to be considered on its own merit in each individual case. That is what they said then. Then, next one, State of Maharashtra versus Zubair Haji Qasim. You can ignore the name. Citation one, please note down. 2008, 12 SEC 792. There, when the advisory board rejected the request for representation through lawyer by saying for obvious reasons, the Supreme Court said, no, this indicates non-application of mind on the part of the advisory board. Set aside. The right of the detainee has been violated, has to be allowed. Friends, please closely follow me. Constitution says no right for a lawyer to appear. Clear? No right. Then in A.K. Roy, two caveats were added. Then in Kavita, they said no right, but request can be made. Now the position is the right to have the request considered and judicial review of the manner of consideration of the said request. Friends, like this, there are about approximately, of course, now the reported decisions would run into say 1,000 or so, but effectively some 50 or 60 cases are there from 1950 till 2015. See, thereafter I have not done my homework. 2015 I have done. Through a process of interpretation, the provision, the Article 22(4)(5), they have been interpreted in such a way that detention law, which is expected to be a powerful tool in the hands of the executive to put down all negative forces, has become utterly enfeebled. In fact, the same fate has fallen upon PMLA also. I would go to the extent of saying Article 30 of the Constitution also has been interpreted in a similar manner, and that is how the present, this secular, pseudo-secular, this debate has been going on for quite some time. Friends, while again to conclude, when we were chatting in Guptaji's room, some were talking about, one professor was referring to Sanjeev Sanyal's recent speech. Then Pushkarnaji bristled up. No, how can you say like that? Even on vacation we are working, he was saying. I agree with sister fully, 100% I agree. But then the essential thrust of Sanjeev Sanyal's speech is that we are talking of Viksit Bharat, which means developed India is a dream to be realized by 2047. But Sanjeev Sanyal warns us that a judicial system is acting as a stumbling block, and this dream might as well not be realized. Sister, with the utmost respect I say, Sanjeev Sanyal's warning cannot be ignored, Just look at the statistics. There are close, I think, 4.5 crores of cases throughout India. In Supreme Court alone, it should be close to 88,000. In High Court, close to 65 lakh cases. And see, we are a product of this colonial legacy. And if so long as we stick on to the colonial legacy, I think the present system will definitely continue. And it has got an economic impact also. They say some 2% of GDP is the cost which we have to incur on account of judicial delays. See, in Singapore, to enforce a contract, it is hardly 165 days. In India, it is 4 years. And this 4 years, it's a data of the year 2019. Now it would have gone even further also. So therefore, we can't ignore the warning of, when India got independence, in that historic Tryst with Destiny speech, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, it was such an eloquent one. But all of us would agree, it's a tryst with destiny, this pact, tryst means contract, pact with destiny, has not been fulfilled. As Girish brother said, for the vast, overwhelming majority, it remains unfulfilled. See, take Gandhiji's Ramarajya. What did he say? In my Ramarajya, a woman can walk in the midnight absolutely safely. That is what Gandhiji said. In fact, the very same theme I found an echo in Arundhati Roy's latest book, her memoir. Mother Mary comes back to me. I think Simaji will not take offense when I quote Arundhati Roy. Madam, I admire Arundhati Roy, madam. I openly say this. See, I have read the book. It's an unputdownable book, brilliant book. See, her mother, Mary Roy, she filed a case in the Supreme Court and secured equality for the women folk among the Travancore Syrian Christians. And there, in one passage, it is a very eloquent passage. Arundhati Roy is driving towards Dehradun. She is last 2 hours of journey, she is going through a national park, and she crosses one cart. See, the cart was, driven by a buffalo. That cartman, he just lying on his back, looking at the stars and singing some song slow, some song loudly. And Arundhati Roy says, I felt jealous of him. However hard we may fight, no woman of any religion, race, caste, whatever, can she go like this in the midnight on a highway through a forest, singing to the stars, confident that her buffalo will take her home safely? She says no. See, in fact, see, Ramrajya of Gandhiji, Arundhati Roy is, I see such a close parallel. And to me, Ramrajya and Viksit Bharat are not different. They are one and the same. In Viksit Bharat also, the woman must be able to go home safely even during midnight. And how that would be possible? Only if the judiciary is effective. A crime against a woman, if it is committed, if justice is rendered speedily, I think the would-be criminal will think twice before committing a crime. All these things would be possible. So that is why Sanjeev Sanyal says, unless we fix the ills of our judicial system, Viksit Bharat will remain only a dream. See, you can flag several ills plaguing our system. Appointment procedure, collegium, so many things we can say. I would highlight only one thing, manner of interpretation. I think the way we have, by sticking out to the colonial legacy, the way we have interpreted, I think we have gone horribly wrong somewhere. I ask myself one question. Why should every provision be like a mathematical formula? Why can't it be a paragraph where things are better expressed? See, language is not a strong instrument. You can't put everything in a single sentence. And that is why judges are guessing what would be the intention of the legislature. See, you must have heard of A.K. Ramanujan. He said, poetry grows in the mind of the reader. And then what happened? But then law, it's certainty. That is what is all important. So I think the process of interpretation, and why should it be only in English? Why not be in all the Bharatiya Bhashas? I think somewhere a disruptive thing happens. I think we'll be continuing the status quo. Friends, coming back to the concluding note of my talk on preventive detention, I will read just one, I'll just conclude with this paragraph fairly. It may take about 3 minutes. Please listen to me carefully. The entire essence of my lecture is in this paragraph. You heard of Atul Gawande? He was the advisor to Bill Clinton, a great surgeon. See, he has written a number of bestsellers, books, and one book, my favorite one, is the Checklist Manifesto. Checklist Manifesto. He says, before we embark on a work, we must summarize the steps to be taken and verify if things are in place. I ask myself a question. Is it possible for the detaining authority to prepare a checklist so that the detention orders will pass muster when subjected to judicial scrutiny? It is Wangchuk's detention order will also be set aside. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your profound, impactful, and thought-provoking words. Thank you, sir, for elucidating upon the distinction between dharma and constitutional morality and to highlight the importance of interpretation of constitutional rights and duties. Before we formally conclude this lecture, we would like to invite questions from the audience for the question-answer round.
Please keep your questions small and also say to whom are you asking the question.
And introduce yourself also.
They are all students, no need. Don't waste time.
My name is Rashmi Yadav. Firstly, I would like to thank this panel for such an insightful lecture. I have a question to Honorable Justice Mini Pushkarna ma'am on her comment on the Mahabharata. As you stated, ma'am, Mahabharata says a person is born into certain obligations and must abide by it. When we talk about Mahabharata, Karna was time and again told to adhere by his obligations of being a Sudputra. Yudhishthir adhered by his kartavya of abiding by the rules of the game that ultimately led to the Chiraran of Draupadi. Do you think, ma'am, it is okay to validate the ancient text while talking about kartavya when these are the very same texts that tells us how kartavya is subjective and changes constantly? Thank you so much.
Well, when I refer to Mahabharata, it was only in the context when Arjun, during the Mahabharata, says that how can he go and fight with his peers, his own brothers, his own family people. At that time, Shri Krishna told him that it was his duty to go and fight, and not that because the family is there in front of him. And see, these values are even present in the present day also. These values are so important. Today, if there is something for which you need to stand, if there is something wrong which is happening, you really need to stand up. You know, it just reminds me of this movie Damini. I remember I saw it long time back. In that movie, the issue was a rape was committed by a member of the family within the family. And this woman, she was just told not to just report it because the rape victim was their own maid servant. So they thought that they will just hush up the issue. But ultimately in this movie, that woman stood up against her family and ensured that justice was delivered to that maid servant, even if she was from a poor, downtrodden family. So even today those values stand, that even if you have to stand against your family, if there's something wrong which is happening, you need to just stand because it is your duty to stand for someone else's right. And that's the education which Krishna ji has given to Arjun and to all of us. So therefore, when I refer to Mahabharata, it was not that you have to encourage casteism or anything. Rather, in today's time, we need to, in fact, treat each other equally. That is what dharma is and which our kartavyam is. Thank you.
सबको नमस्ते। मेरा प्रश्न जो है ऑनरेबल मेंबर जस्टिस जो है जी स्वामीनाथन जी से है कि जैसा मैंने आपके बारे में पढ़ा जो गूगल पे किया कि आप 9000 से ज़्यादा केसेस एक साल में सॉल्व करते हैं, लेकिन हमारे देश में अभी जो केसेस की पेंडेंसी जो है हाई कोर्ट्स में और अदर कोर्ट्स में बहुत ज़्यादा है। तो सर मैं ये चाहता हूँ, जैसे आपने इतनी ज़्यादा जो है केसेस सॉल्व करी अपनी जो है इस टाइम में 7 साल जब अपनी जो है मद्रास जो है हाई कोर्ट में जज रहे हैं, तो मैंने ये देखा कि दिल्ली में जो औसत रहा है लगभग एक जज का 800 के आसपास रहा है केस सॉल्व करने का, और आपका वहीं 9000 रहा है। तो आप क्या अपने जो है साथी जजों को क्या इसके बारे में बताते हैं कि हम कैसे इसका कर लेते हैं, या फिर कैसे आप करेंगे? जो हमने देखा कि पेंडेंसी के बारे में सर, कि हमारे देश में जो पेंडेंसी है सभी कोर्ट्स दिखते हैं कि हमारे यहाँ पे जो है जजों की कमी है। तो सर क्या होगा कि हमारे यहाँ के जो केसेस पेंडेंसी हैं वो कैसे सॉल्व होंगी इंडिया में, इसके बारे में आप क्या कर सकते हैं, क्या होगा इसके बारे में? थैंक यू सर।
I would answer the question on his behalf because we asked him the same question. He is writing his own report of the cases that he's submitting, and these are things which are told to the brother and the sister judges, but sometimes as things go, sometimes people appreciate and sometimes they're angry also when you look at somebody's success, but that's what a society is. Sorry, I'm answering on your behalf. He's asking about the pendency, that whether you are telling the other brother and sister judges as to how you're able to cope up with so much of pendency, and how you're giving judgments in thousands when they're giving in hundreds.
My friend, I have only one simple approach. I don't write essays and articles, okay? Many judges write, say, 200 pages, 300 pages, 400 pages for judgments and all. I write only 5 pages or 6 pages, that's all. So I think if the judgments are kept short, students also will read them. If they are 500 pages, even we don't read them, okay? So therefore, writing short judgments, I think they would help in reducing the pendency.
Okay, thank you, sir.
My question is also to Honorable Justice Swaminathan. When we talk about Kartavyam and Dharma, and we are taught something like Manusmriti, which Dr. Ambedkar burnt, right? So what do you think about the call to Dharma or the call to Kartavyam as being this, as being a call to something that is taught to us as part of jurisprudence, which, which Dr. Ambedkar burnt and then refused and dismissed? So is this what Dharma is? Is this a callback to values of Manusmriti?
I just want to add one thing, sir, though I'm not one of the main speakers here. To the younger generation, I can see the half smiles that they are having on their faces, because sometimes they may not feel satisfied by the answer. But let me tell you one thing. We have been giving interpretations as given by the foreigners to us, right? If you ask a question, I'm not saying don't ask questions, but when you ask a question, go back home and also read the original texts to find out what was the situation and what are the different interpretations given by the Indians at that point of time. You know, we are always saying Manusmriti is bad, Manusmriti is bad. Have you read Manusmriti? Just one verse you keep on quoting everywhere, and you say, and Manusmriti is something which is taught in the universities, in political science departments, and the relevant portions. We are not talking about Chanakya. Chanakya, the entire philosophy of his, must understand. You're all growing up, children, and I would tell you that go back to we are not saying that stick to the Indian texts for everything. What we are saying is that Indian knowledge system has a number of things. As I was mentioning, Are we not talking about adhikar? Are we not talking about dharma? Are we not talking about inextricable duties? Girishji talked about Hoffeldian analysis, and Hoffeld himself says absolute duties does not find a place in Hoffeldian analysis because the Westerners cannot understand the concept of a duty. For them, duty is a corresponding claim which has to be present. So, my little kids sitting here, please go back, read, and it's good to question. And when you question, try to find an answer yourself. And I think you will be sailing in a better boat.
Whenever we read text, read it in context. The problem of Manu criticizes, I would say, is criticism usually good at context. We cannot divorce it from the context of the contemporary society when it was written. Then second aspect, across a period of time, all our ancient things have been obliterated by Western thought. You today, I mean, in fact, I was day 4 years ago, in a place where the judges are please tell me how many of us has studied ancient Hindu criminal law? How many of us have studied about the concept of Trivandrum of the punishment? How many of us has read the Mahabharata Shanti Parva or the Narad chapter of Narad Smriti? We in our law faculties talk of only Kelsen,
Sir, I'm stopping you in between. We have started jurisprudence course. Delhi University is the first one which has added Indian knowledge system to the jurisprudence, and the teachers did not know about it. They are being trained. We have trained the teachers, training courses were held for them, and then we go back to the class and teach. And many of the universities are taking up the syllabus of which has been done by the Delhi Law Faculty.
I invite all of you to give it a thought. Don't go by what I am saying, because I said this very happily on the Saturday itself. Please think it over. Is our criminal justice system working? There is a social. He is sent into the machine of the prison, comes out in same polluted condition. What are we doing? Criminal justice system is failing because we are not able to conceptualize something new. So I all you to think it over. What my proposal is, you may liberty to be rejected, but you give it a thought. Even if we always have right to refer. I say that the criminal justice system, the judge should be built in the stage of conviction, not beyond. Because the basic purpose of criminal law, criminal justice system is to ensure orderly and peaceful society. Now, I have convicted a person of murder. That should be stopped. Now, how this person has to be treated has to be conceptualized by us so that he doesn't come out of jail in case he is given life imprisonment and admission granted, etc. He has changed his reform, because otherwise this is not a meaningful system. So what I proposed was that the sentencing should be therapeutic, for which you have a fixed panel of sociologists, psychologists, and criminologists. It should be individualized treatment of the convict. Then we will have a sensible, hopeful criminal justice. Otherwise, it's what? Otherwise, it's just fees for lawyers and salaries for the judges. What are we doing? Please give it a thought. In my generation, perhaps not I am hopeful that there will be some change.
Hello,
this
sir.
is going to be the last question, and then we'll try to wind up. Yes, sir, please ask.
My question is to Girish, sir, or anybody else can also answer. Sir, in context of India's historical unequal socialist structure, where you yourself said that there is a large amount of marginalized group. Most of the majority has no access to either a judicial system or the state per se. In this context, we are talking about that we should focus on duties more. But sir, my question is the state has fulfilled its duty towards us? You are also part of state. That's why I'm asking the question. And sir, in my opinion, state has failed. No, sir, but we are.
As we come towards the end of this enlightening session, let us reflect on the profound insights and knowledge shared by our esteemed speakers. We would now request our Program Director, Dr. Seema Singh Ma'am, to deliver the vote of thanks and conclude this lecture.
Thank you so much to all of you for being with us since 11:30. Now we are going to conclude the session, but before that I wanted to mention certain things which are very important for all of us. Sir mentioned test of the destiny, and yes, today we are destined for many good things also. But before that I wanted to mention one thing, that why we initiated this, the series on the completion of 75 years of the Indian Constitution in the name of Kartavyam. Alka ma'am said very rightly, and as the rest of the panelists also, that we don't read our literature. And just now Dr. Ambedkar was also quoted. I just want to mention one thing about Dr. Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar himself has admitted that I don't know Sanskrit. So whatever I am going to understand, that is based upon the translated literature. So once you are not able to understand your own literature, and you are going to rely upon a literature which is translated, and that is also not by the Indians but by the foreigners, it is difficult to believe that we understood the things in the correct spirit. So the most important thing, पहला कर्तव्य, you should know about your own country. And sir, I am telling you, when we started this, we were planning this concept of Kartavyam, I personally believe that this was the act of divine. Today I am very happy to announce that we have completed 16th lecture of our series, and today we made a world record also, because this is the longest running lecture series in the field of law in a year. So give a big round of applause to all of us. I am very happy that I am very thankful to all those who are today here, the part of this 16th lecture and the part of this history making also. Kartavyam has been initiated with a very broad, vision. It is not just a lecture series. Kartavyam talks about so many other things, and this is the collective responsibility for all of us. And I think I will mention few things in brief so that we could also better understand that what is the purpose and what is the reason behind Kartavya. So if you want to understand Samvidhan Bodh is Bharat Bodh, and Bharat Bodh is Kartavya Bodh, because Kartavya is something which is the part of Rita. Kartavya is something which is aligned with the cosmic law. So only that thing can sustain, which is aligned with the natural law. Kartavya is aligned. Kartavyam is Bharat Bodh. Kartavya is sustainable. Right is not sustainable, and that was the reason, because right is individualistic in nature. It talks about the supremacy and World War I, World War II, and the present situation of United Nations. All these three are the consequence of this individualistic approach. So Kartavyam is spiritual in nature. Kartavya brings togetherness, it unites us. Rights divide, and the purpose of Kartavyam is to unite the entire universe, the entire world in the name of humanity. I am extremely thankful to all the respected speaker, Justice Kartavyam sir. Beyond boundaries of caste and religion, Kartavyam is universal. Kartavyam is about sensitivity and sensibility both towards everyone, irrespective of their caste, creed, religion, or his personal choices. Power comes with responsibility. Being the part of the legal fraternity and being educated, this is our responsibility, not only to perform our kartavya only, but to be very sensitive and sensible about the rights of others and the protection of rights of those who are deprived. Mini Pushkarna ma'am has said many things, and her speech was, so many points were there to take forward from her speech. Right to responsibility, privilege to purpose. Kartavya is also a karma yoga, as it is mentioned by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And karma yoga means you control your desires. First deserve and then desire. The problem with this 21st century market forces is they have created so much of desires that we have lost our mental peace also. So Kartavya, Karma Yoga and the control of desire, they all are interconnected. She also mentioned many PILs which plays a very important role in the making of the nation, directive principle of state policy, duty of the state, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, duties of the citizen. And here I will add one more thing, I think, which is very much important for all of us. And preamble, each and every word of the preamble is the right of the nation. And each and every word of the preamble is the kartavya of each and every citizen. So Justice Swaminathan sir was mentioning about NSA. NSA is something which is related with the national security, and this is our collective responsibility to perform our kartavya and our duty towards the nation to make India great again. And it is time to reclaim our civilization, because this is the era of civilizational war. So if we want to claim our, we want to reclaim our civilization, it is very much important to understand the concept of Bharat, the idea of Bharat, and obviously the idea of Kartavya. Sir also discussed preventive laws, the consequences of NSA, and one point which I think I should mention here, legal positivism and dharma prudence. It is the same thing, we can mention it like this also. Legal positivism is procedure established by law, and dharma prudence is due process of law. So whenever we are going to talk about the due process of law, automatically we are talking about the concept of dharma, and dharma means something which is a pious duty of each and every individual towards the other. So with this I am just going to this is my formal vote of thanks to all the three respected dignitaries, respected judges who are sitting on the dais, and also our PIC, Professor Gunjan Gupta ma'am, Alka ma'am, for their constant support and encouragement, the entire team of Kartavyam, all the students, all the participants, all the teaching faculties. Without their support it was not possible. And yes, our knowledge partner, Knowledge Collective also. And once again I am repeating, today on the auspicious day of Navratri, we have created a world record, and thanks to all of you for your great support. 3 months are still left, and we are going to come up with more programs which are definitely going to be equally meaningful, and we will keep doing good and will perform our duty and the purpose of Kartavya jurisprudence. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the concluding address. I request everyone to kindly stand up for our national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Now I request Team Kartavyam to please kindly come near the stage. We will have a picture with the esteemed guests. And all the teachers as well, faculty members.
3 cheers for us.